Hello again, YouTubers, it's me, Road Dogless Politics, back with yet another video, and this time it is on the ever ongoing saga that is Brexit and Brexit negotiations. So we're like 15 months on from the Brexit vote, and from the looks of it, it seems as if we have barely made any progress at all. I mean, we're still trying to figure out the cost of it all, how much it will be, whether we're willing to pay 20 billion to leave or 40 billion to leave, and we've got until the end of this week to come up with a figure until we have any chance of talking about trade deals. And we've also got the Brexit assessment impact papers, which the Tory government is going through Parliament now, and it's, oh, suddenly they don't exist, suddenly they do exist, suddenly we're going to show it to them, but we're going to redact it and not show all of it, so we don't actually want to tell people the real truth of what the impact of Brexit will really be on this nation, because we don't want the public to know, because if we tell the public, then we'll look really shitter than we do at the moment. Because that's how shit this government is. If you voted Tory, you have to admit on some level that this government is doing an awful job at getting anything done or getting anything through without being massively scrutinised over it. It's awful. I've never seen any government so deeply incompetent, so much of a failure to, one, not care about its citizens living here, not care about the EU citizens living here, and just generally being a complete and utter clusterfuck. And then on another level, it's like we've just started, discussing it this week, the Irish and Northern Irish border that everyone failed to mention throughout the campaign, that we all thought, we were told, oh, it would be so easy. It would be so easy because we'll get the best deal. We don't need to talk about Northern Ireland and the border because we'll get exactly what we want, and we'll be able to stay in single market and customs union, so we won't need to have a militarised border and everything will be great. We don't need to talk about that or anything at all because we're going to get what we want. Woohoo! And we'll take back control. Suddenly turns out things didn't work out the way you wanted them to work out. And it's just so unfortunate because most of Northern Ireland voted to remain within the UK, precisely the fact, the biggest reason being they were worried about what kind of border they were going to have with the Republic of Ireland. Because as we all know, before the Good Friday Agreement, there was a militarised border between Northern Ireland and Ireland, so you couldn't actually pass through without being checked out by military forces to see if you've got explosives in your car. That's how big it was. That's how scary it was. And nobody wants to go back to that. No one wants to have a militarised border again. And it fucks up everything up with the Good Friday Agreement, and I'm not going to pretend that I know a lot about all that stuff, but I understand that it's got a large part to play in EU negotiations, and whether Northern Ireland should remain in the customs union and the single market in order to have a free and open border, because that is hugely important. And it's just shocking to me how it just wasn't explained, and it wasn't mentioned nearly at all in the referendum campaign, because it's massively important to Irish people and Northern Irish people who people who live in Ireland and Northern Ireland work on either side of the border and would very much I'm guessing, to travel freely between those two countries. And it's just all up in the air. And it's just, you can't make this up. It's just insane. And the other thing that's going through Parliament at the moment is the Brexit assessment impact papers or something, where the Tories didn't want to give the scale of what impact Brexit would have on the country, didn't want to show it to the public, and now they're somehow saying that they didn't exist, but we're only going to give you a little bit of them. We're going to redact them and tell you that you know, well, here's a little bit of it, but they didn't exist in the first place and now they do, and it's like, come on, man. Come on. Like, who are you that incompetent? This is embarrassing. This is so embarrassing. Like, if you voted leave, like, you have to recognise that this is turning into the biggest fuck up. And that whole conflict in, like, the 80s and the Troubles, like, that was huge. And the Good Friday Agreement, reaching a peace deal between two different sides, was huge. And oh God, like it's like, it seems like we're just walking back on all these promises and all this progress, and it's just turning into this massive clusterfuck of like just terrible negative regression. Something else that is also getting me is the fact that you have people responding to this issue like it's not even an issue. And people, especially in England, will be like, oh, why can't Ireland just follow us and stop remaining and complaining, and why are they threatening us, and why can't we just leave, and we were told we were going to leave and it's now taking ages, why is it taking so long, why can't Ireland just accept it? And it's like, can you get outside of your little England bubble and realise there is life outside? You might not care about Ireland, but people living in Ireland care, because it's a massive issue for them, and they remember the Troubles. If you're old enough, I'm not, but if you remember the Troubles, you'll know how absolutely terrible it was, feeling like you're going to be bombed any second by terrorists, and having your car checked out just in case you had explosive or weapons inside. That's how bad it was. Like, I'm not fucking around. Like, it's a real big thing, and people just are acting like it's a complete non-issue. And that's dangerous, because it should be discussed properly and seriously, and people just think that it's something that we can just move on from really quickly and not have to worry about it. And it's like a lot of stuff like we have to get through, because it's just so important for people's lives and people's safety and people's general sense of well-being. And people just don't think about that, because they're just obsessed with, why can't we just leave? Why can't we just leave? We should have done it like months ago. Surprise, surprise, it actually takes a long time to, you know, deal with contracts and shit. If that's not bad enough, you only have to look around you to see what an absolute state this country is turning into as a result of this Tory government that we have, that is turning this country into a disaster capitalist country where you know the NHS is being grossly underfunded, staff shortages, paradise paper, tax avoidance, universal credit, more homeless people, lack of wage growth, lack of productivity, lack of investment, public services being cut. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace of this government, who is keeping all the wealth to themselves and not distributing it out to the poorest of us. It is an absolute disgrace. So, if you're not concerned about the Irish problem, you should be concerned about this, because it is going to be affecting a lot of us in the future. If we don't get this shit sorted out, this whole Brexit scenario, this whole Brexit shit show, which it most definitely is, regardless of how you voted, I don't care. Like, it's a shit show, and it needs to be sorted out. It needs to be sorted out so that people can have their lives back and have a good quality of life and be looked after. Elderly people need to be looked after, social care, NHS, public services. It's like, it needs to be brought back, because it clearly this form of capitalism is not working for a lot of people. This stuff really riles me up, man. It really riles me up, and I would love it if people got more informed about issues of the day and like what stuff actually means for, you know, people in general and like people living outside of the UK, because it's important, and I think everyone should be informed. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like, and I'll be uploading more videos very soon. So yeah, thanks guys!